Museo Egizio to our second installation of the event focused on Sudan, preserving Sudan's archaeological heritage. Before I say some introductory words from my side, it's also the pleasure to relay some words of Cristian Greco, the director of Museo Egizio, and also head of the International Committee for Egyptian and Sudan archaeological museums and collections, and also in his capacity and also in this context, this event is also under the patronage of CIPEC. So I'm happy to read some of those personal words from our director to you. Then I will have my own introductory words, and then I will leave the floor to these gentlemen. Your Excellency, authorities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to welcome you to Museo Egizio today. This event, which our institution has organized in collaboration with CIPEG, so the said International Committee for Egyptian and Sudan Archaeological Museums and Collections, aims once again to draw everyone's attention to the value of cultural heritage. In these tragic times, when weapons have again made their presence felt in many parts of the world, heritage is under attack. Preserving the vestiges left to us by our ancestors is not just a scholarly endeavor, a mere academic exercise, but a vital necessity. Only by remembering the past can we work to build the present and plan the future. Our infinite gratitude goes to our Sudanese colleagues who, with dedication, care and self-sacrifice, managed to overcome endless difficulties and work in the service of all humanity so that heritage can continue to live on. Today we want to reiterate once again that you are not alone. The Museo Egizio and all the international museums represented by CIPEC are with you. Consider us your temporary home, and for anything you need, do not hesitate to ask for our support. In the end, peace will prevail. The desire to destroy the past will come to nothing, and the memory of the ancients will remain a beacon to help us build a better future. In apologizing for my absence today, so Cristian Greco speaking, I would like to reiterate my closeness to you and thank you for what you are doing for all of us. Good afternoon and welcome, His Excellency Emadeldin Mirghani Abdelhamid Altohamy, Ambassador of the Republic of the Sudan to Italy. Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, and everyone here in the conference room of the Museo Egizio, as well as all who follow us live online. It is a pleasure for me to welcome you here to Focus on Sudan 2, Preserving Sudan's Archaeological Heritage, a roundtable dedicated to reflecting on the current cultural emergency affecting Sudan and to discussing how the international community can support the protection of its extraordinary heritage. A special welcome right at the beginning again is due to His Excellency, the Ambassador of the Republic of the Sudan to Italy. Your Excellency, it is an honor to have you with us today, and we are grateful for your presence at this event dedicated to the protection and preservation of Sudan's cultural heritage. The meeting today builds on the first Focus on Sudan event held here at the Museo Egizio in December 2023, which brought together scholars, cultural professionals and members of the Sudanese community to raise awareness about the situation unfolding in the country. Today's meeting continues that conversation with the hope of moving from awareness towards stronger collaboration and concrete action. Since April 23, the ongoing conflict in Sudan has had devastating consequences not only for people and communities, but also for cultural heritage. Museums, archaeological sites, archives and libraries have been damaged, looted or occupied. Important collections have been destroyed, manuscripts and objects stolen, and archaeological sites placed at risk. These losses concern not only Sudan itself, but also the shared cultural heritage of humanity. At a moment like this, it becomes essential to create spaces for dialogue and cooperation. Cultural heritage professionals, researchers, international organizations, and members of the Sudanese diaspora all have an important role to play in documenting what is happening, supporting colleagues on the ground, and identifying strategies for protection and future recovery. The aim of today's meeting is therefore to bring to gather different perspectives, academic, institutional, and civic, in order to reflect on one central question: how Sudanese and international institutions can collaborate to protect, document, and promote Sudan's endangered cultural heritage during and after the current conflict. I would like to mention that this event was organized following the renewed initiative of Yagoub Kibeida and also Natalie Lithwick, whose commitment to raising awareness about Sudan and to mobilizing international cooperation has made this meeting possible. Before I give the word to Yagoub, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to the events and social media team of the Museo Egizio for their support in organizing today's roundtable, especially Arianna Agostino and Letizia Polacco, whose work behind the scenes has been essential for making this afternoon possible. And now I hand the microphone to you, Yagoub.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank Museo Egizio for supporting and co-organizing and hosting this event. As usual, when we contact the Museo Egizio, they are always there. Thank you very much. I would like also to thank Mr. Junaid from UNESCO, director of the Sudan, and he has to come from Port Sudan now to attend this event. I would like to thank His Excellency the Ambassador Emadeldin Altohamy, the Ambassador of Sudan in Italy, the Sudanese community, the Sudanese Association of Torino, and also our partners, SAU in Milano, Sudanese Diaspora Organization SAU in Milano, and Progetto Tenda, that they help us and they support our initiative. And all the speakers, they are with us and participants, and Johannes and Natalie and Federico and also Rosanna, that they make a huge effort for the success of this event. A special thanks also to Nafir Global Aid Connection Italy team, who dedicate and commitment made this event possible. I give to Johannes to introduce them.
Thank you, Yagoub. And now it's a great honor to hear the ambassador to give us his words.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin with expressing my sincere gratitude to the organizer of Safeguarding Sudan's Archaeological Heritage event, additionally to Global Aid Connections. And the Egyptian Museum in Turin for their kind invitation to me to participate in this important event. I would also like to commend the organizers for creating this valuable platform dedicated to raising awareness of Sudanese heritage and the serious challenges it faces today. Sudan is a country rich exceptionally with its historical and cultural heritage for thousands of years. Its land has been home of a great civilization that have made significant contribution to the human history. From the ancient Nile Valley civilization and the kingdom of Kush, Nubata, and Merawi, the Christian and Islamic eras that shaped the identity of Sudan today, in which are also integral part of humanity shared global heritage. Unfortunately, on April 15, 2023, the Rapid Support Forces militia committed a wide range of crime against humanity, violation of international law, genocide, massacres, including killing of unarmed men, elderly, pregnant women, infant, kindergarten, and school children in a scene that shocked the humanity and the world widely. So at this point, please allow me to invite you to stand a minute of silence in mourning of souls of those people who have been killed unjustified war, please. Thank you. RSF militia war also resulted in a destruction of a country infrastructure, public and private property, and widespread looting. In the context, Sudan's historical sites and cultural heritage were not spared catastrophic effects. Numerous museums, cultural institutions, and archaeological sites suffered damage, looting, and destruction, lose to a cultural heritage of humanity and central archive also. In this context, it is essential to strengthen cooperation between Sudan institutions, international organizations, academic institutions, and museums worldwide to document the damage inflicted on archaeological sites and protect what remains. We also encourage museum cultural institutions and international auctions houses to exercise the highest level of professional vigilance to prevent looted Sudanese artifacts from entering the global art markets. This responsibility is of particular importance within the framework of 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting, of preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property, which is in principle an international legal instrument for combating illicit trafficking of cultural properties. At the same time, we look forward to the next phase of restoring and reconstructing Sudan museum, cultural institution, and archaeological sites to a process that requires a close cooperation between Sudan and the international partners in cultural, academic, and other sectors. And I conclude, I hope that today discussion will contribute to strengthen regional and international cooperation and launching a practical initiative to protect Sudan archaeological heritage. And thank you for good listening.
Thank you, His Excellency. The next point in the program, I'm the Master of Ceremonies today, will be the screening of a video, and yes, it will be introduced.
Today, we gather not only to discuss Sudan cultural heritage, but to raise awareness about the grave threat currently faces, and to seek strategies to find new strategies and action plan for collaboration to prevent and the loss of this heritage, and also to better way for collaboration between the civil societies, the Sudanese diaspora, institutions, government, and museums and UNESCO. Across Sudan, museums and historical sites have suffered damage, looting, and destruction during the ongoing conflict. Cultural objects that once told the story of the Sudan's civilization are now at risk of disappearing. The short film we are about to watch documents some of these destructions and the looting of Sudanese museums. It is a small effort to shed light on a much larger tragedy affecting Sudan's cultural heritage. We hope that by sharing these images and testimonies, we can contribute to greater awareness and encourage international efforts to protect and preserve Sudan history. Thank you. Now I invite you to watch the short film.
Museo is an archaeological researcher who's worked at the museum for 27 years. He described the theft and vandalism here as an immeasurable tragedy. He said the museum showcased and preserved the DNA of Sudan's vast and underappreciated history. But while he and his colleagues reel from this unprecedented loss, officials are also determined to get many of these artifacts back, working with international organizations before they're smuggled across Sudan's borders and vanish into private collections.
دي كلها جثث. جيسس دي كلها جيسس يا جماعة. دي جيسس. دي كلها جيسس. دي كلها جيسس. الشغل ده تحطينا ده في صندوق كده شكله ما مفهوم.
No, it's working. Yes, after seeing those images again, it weighs hard on the heart. I would now, nevertheless, invite my friend Shadia Rado to give us her presentation about the current situation in Sudan. Shadia Rabo is a Sudanese archaeologist and senior curator at the Sudan National Museum in Khartoum. Her work focuses on museum collections, archaeological research, and the preservation of Sudan's cultural heritage. In recent years, she has been actively involved in international activities to document and safeguard Sudanese museums and archaeological collections, especially in response to the damage and looting caused by the ongoing war in the country. Shadia, I leave the floor to you.
Thank you. Can you set up with me my... Good afternoon or good afternoon. Is it good afternoon? Mm-hmm. Okay, good afternoon everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I would like first sincerely to thank the museum, Egyptian Museum, for giving this attention for the Sudan and the situation for cultural heritage in Sudan. And thank them for inviting me to be here to share with you. I hope it's update because it's still, it's not completely update. Every time in Sudan we expect something new for our cultural heritage. Glad to see, or honored to see really this distinguished guest, honor Excellency, our Ambassador, Sir Altohamy, and Excellency, Mr. Junaid, Director of UNESCO Khartoum, and Sudanese delegation. And also I'm glad and really proud to see my young colleague. And now I'm trust we have a strong and qualified team who can rebuild and Sudan again and our cultural heritage again. This one? Okay, no, sorry. Can you bring the first one? Okay, but it's going very fast. Okay. I think the situation of Sudan itself, it gives Sudan this advantage in to be a cultural diversity country, and with a remarkable history and with archaeological site, intangible heritage, tangible, and even natural heritage. For that, Millennium Sudan, has been served as a zone of contact among the people from Sub-Sahara, Central Africa, and Mediterranean, and Arab world, and this gives Sudan, this situation to be one of the earliest civilization in the world. Another factor which it gives Sudan this advantage is the various climatic, from arid deserts in the north to the tropical savanna in the south. Unfortunately, this war or conflict has revealed that deliberated targeting of Sudan cultural heritage. And we can see that clearly and manifested in the destruction of archaeological sites, museums, and others, reports of historical memory, and that constitute essential component of natural identity. I used to say that it's kind of erasing memory, erasing cultural memory, and we can say memoricide. If I may say that, it's like genocide, it is memoricide of cultural memory. Before I go to the impact direct of this war, beyond this immediate and direct effect, the war also has, generate a range of indirect effect or impact, and we can see that clear. I have this 4 photo. This is the indirect effect or impact of the war. The first picture, is because the climatic now change in Sudan is and particularly in the north, where we used to receive heavy raining, and this is unusual for Sudan. Most of the monument and archaeological monument in the north. And the first picture is Karma site, and one of our important 3000 BC site. This is full of the water. And we couldn't reach it, we couldn't do any conservation because also the access is a little bit complicated to the site, and also because the mission, they couldn't came for 3 years to work, who used to do renewing and restoration for the site. 3 years they couldn't access to the site. The second building is our site in Amara West, where me and Johannes, we work together and we built this visitor center. And unfortunately, during the first year of the war, the mining gold, they destroyed the building completely. And also this is because of uncontrolling, no mission work, no archaeologists on the site, so they destroyed the building. The fourth picture is for mining gold, and this is also now everywhere destroyed the sites, because also there is no control for the sites. As National Corporation for Museum, and I'm the Deputy Director for Museum Sector, and we have 14 regional museum. But even with the museum, which is not under income, we are collaborate with them, and also we give advice as professional. So we have 14 museum. We have 5 museum completely destroyed or destructed and looted partially. We have now only 2 museum work open for public, which is Kerma Museum in the north and Al-Barkal Museum. We have 4 museum with the help of UNESCO. We were able in the beginning of the war to evacuate and to pact. Sinar Museum, Wadi Nil, Ad-Damar, Marawi Museum, and the 4th is Sheikha Museum. But unfortunately, even those museums who we evacuated, 2 of them is still Al-Fashir. Yes, we evacuated and we saved the object, but it's still in Al-Fashir, which is the city under the siege. And the second one is Sheikha Museum. We evacuated the museum, but also still the museum is very close to the war zone. I'm going to go through this very quickly. So in Khartoum state, we have 2 types of museum. We have the museum, the national and our museum, and then we have the religious and cultural building, which for us, we consider it also as museum. For the National Museum, and it's the largest, as we say, museum, it's hosted all the archaeological collection from all excavation from all Sudan. It's a result of 200 years of archaeological work. It's hosted from prehistoric until the late Islamic period. The most rich and biggest museum, but not just because it's the most and the biggest one in terms of antiquities. This museum, you know, beside its social and cultural function, it's play like a social space. You see, because it's on the the location of the museum, which is on near the confluence of the 2 Nile, the Blue Nile, and the White Nile, which is the greenest area in Khartoum with the hot of the climatic of Sudan. It's really play a different role. I just put the picture for the museum here before the war, and you see the activities, and it was open for public, green, and now this is the museum after the war. Thousands of objects looted, destruction of the temples, and these temples moved or shifted from the north during the Nubian campaign, 1964, and rebuilt in the National Garden of the museum. One of the first museums in the world who have opening display. And now it's, and the container, which you see, this is a container belong to the mission work in Sudan. We have 47 mission work in Sudan, and they keep the collection in this container, so it's all empty and burn it completely. This picture, it shows the shelling which is left from the war. Thank you for UNESCO. With the help of UNESCO, recently they clean all the museum from shelling, and they training people how to deal with this shelling. The second museum, the main museum in Khartoum, also is a National Ethnography Museum. The building itself is recognized as a historical building because it's from the time of British colonial, and it's official. It used to be the office for British officer. The museum is the only museum in Sudan display all the ethnography for the different ethnic groups in Sudan. Houses a really remarkable collection from all the region, all ethnic group in Sudan. I put just the picture for the museum before and after, if you see, it's the same. So this picture, it's the first one, this one, you see the big drum in the shape of cow. This is one of really of my favorite piece in this museum. I used to when I used to visit the museum, and it was burned completely. All the museum had been destroyed and burned, but fortunately we have still the storeroom. Yes, the roof collapsed on the collection, so it needs to rescue for the collection from under the roof and conservation. So still we have a hope because we have still part of the collection in the storeroom. Then we have Khalifa House Museum, and the building itself also is a historical building built in 1887. Until 1897, it used to be the administration, and in the same times to be a resident for the Khalifa. And this museum was opened as museum in 1982. Just before the war, the museum launched a new exhibition, and it's open in a new way, a new display. Just few months, and you can see the museum now after the war. The wall collapsed, cracking on the walls, the looting of the collection, destruction of showcases, and Natural History Museum. It is belongs to University of Khartoum Faculty of Science. This museum is hosted a very remarkable and very rare species from fauna and flora from all of Sudan. And it's not just a museum, it used to be like education center. This is a reference for our students from the primary or even from the from primary school until the university student from Faculty of Science. This was the main museum for geology, fauna, flora, samples for all over Sudan. The museum was completely destroyed. The library had been burned completely. All the information, a lot of speeches from the beginning of the 19th century, lost it and destroyed it. Also the Museum of Geology in Sudan, also we have this one. I just put one. They lost a lot, but I put the important object, which is the meteorite, one of the essential, really unique object in this museum. Then we have the Palace Museum, and which is under the Palace Republic itself. The building is a church from 1912, cathedral. So this also is completely damaged, but fortunately now the government, they start reconstructed this museum and the Palace Republic. In Darfur, in Jeninna, in Western Darfur, one of our museums, Sultan Bahreddin, this museum, we start working in this museum from 2017. We just 2005 until 2017. We just opened it. The museum completely destructed, and sadly, we lost our colleague, the director of the museum, with his family in this war, who has been killed in this war. The Niala Museum also in Darfur, and this museum is archaeological and ethnography museum, and also it has been renewed and before the war, and the museum is used to be also like a community space to serve the peace in this region. Unfortunately, you see, they destroyed the museum, and all the showcases had been looted and destroyed. Sultan Ali Dinar, this is museum in El Fashir, and it is the palace itself is a historical building from 1916. Also, just before the war, the Turkish government renewed this museum, did a lot of work, and opened it and launched it also 1 year before the war in a new exhibition. And the collection were preserved and evacuated, but we lost all the building. Jazeera Museum in Wad Madani, and this museum has 3 galleries, one for archaeology, one for ethnography, and one for the pioneer and modern history for the city. Also, the museum had been work as community space, as museum, as educational, and the museum partially destroyed, and also part of the half or most of the half of the collection had been looted. However, all this lost as National Corporation for Antiquities and Museum. We try to do also our best with, of course, with the help of UNESCO and other partner. We try to do leadership role. So our responsibility, our core responsibility in this war was the emergency relocation coordinating international partnership because we try to create a net documentation and archiving, oversight and risk assessment, and we try to look for the priority in the term of, in the war. The crisis response and framework which we did is assessment, evaluate the threat to the collection. The action we did is implementation and protection measures. We did collaboration, as I said, with international partner, and we start documentation and preserve knowledge. Also, this is, as mentioned, we start, and this is also with the support of UNESCO and other partners, we were able to evacuate. So this is the evacuation of Damar Museum and Merowi Museum, and now in safety. For Kerma Museum, we did also documentation for all the museum as to be prepared for emergency. For Shekan also, we were able to evacuate and pack the museum, but as I said, it's now in a safety area, but we hope this museum keeps safety far from the war. Sinar, fortunately, also this is just before the war extension to this region, we were able to evacuate and to pack the collection. This is one of the hope also, because just recently the police in Sudan and security, they were able to capture 570 objects and to bring it back. Also, during this war, we create emergency offices, one in Cairo, one in Karima, and so to work during the crisis. Through these offices, we were able also to training archaeological student in a different in mapping archaeological site, in documentation. And the last one, this picture is just last week we did online training for our colleague in the World Heritage Site Merowi, and with the Louvre Museum. We create these 2 suitcases with collection. We make a copy from our collection in the Louvre, and this is for education, so they can train a student and a community with this collection. Also, we did some of the community engagement, so in different area, in Wad Madani, in the north, in Abri, in Kerma, in El Berkel. So we tried also to engage the community in protection and protected cultural heritage. Also, we work on digital heritage preservation. So we did a lot of archive digital program. So now myself, I'm based in Paris to work on platform for Sudanese museum collection and archaeological site and archive. So we need to build a big platform people can be access. It's for researcher, for public, and also for student. With SEFDAS, with the French unit, we were able to allow also to create or to open the virtual museum. So the people can access at least to the National Museum through this virtual museum. For on the ground now, my colleague, they work in Khartoum, in the National Museum, in Khalifa House Museum, and in Emadeldin, and they are now starting, inventory, document, reporting for the museums. They save also the safe measurement for the museum. So they are working really in a critical situation, but they really success to do a lot of work now on the ground. So what challenge and critical challenge for us is the first is the access, because even now, yes, we were able to access to the National Museum, to some museum, but still we have a conflict zone area which we could not access. As I mentioned, we have our museum in El Fashir, in Niala, in Chekan. We couldn't do anything for this museum. So the limited funding also, and the security risk also, because still now our collection is, we try to follow. Also, we create now what we call it red list. Now we are working on red list with International Council for Museum to build this, red list to be, to the auction houses, to all the countries to follow, to trace our Sudanese collection in this, when it's entered these countries. So we try to do, but as I said, multiple, also comprehensive and also partnership. But the current challenge, as we know, normally, as I said, the reconstruction of our museum. How can we rebuild the physical buildings? So we have now more than five museums. It needs to reconstruct it from the beginning. As I said, we're struggling for preservation. So it's not just Sudan, and we can see now everywhere in the world. So it is really a global. It's became like we should point it as a global challenge, not just Sudan. So this is the attacking or impact of the war and conflict of the cultural heritage. Also, educational program and community improvement, and the lack as again for funding, and we need global collaboration for preserving Sudan. And so what is the result is, as I said, 5 museums fully relocated, thousands of artifacts had been saved. We try to do our best. Now we did archive, preserve, and we built more, it's even more than 8 collaboration with different organizations. What immediate priorities for us? Number 1 is to continuous emergency relocation and to secure remaining the vulnerable collections. So we need to trace our collections, the looted one. We need to expand the digitalization scope in it. We need to strengthen security protocols. We need to maintain the international support and to sustain funding. Our long-term vision is, now we are thinking about post-war. That is now what we think of. What is the next step? What is our vision for the post-war? So, of course, to retain our collection, rehabilitation of our museum, to build resilience museum facilities and the capacity building, and that's what we're really focusing on. We lost a lot during this war of our colleague, so senior staff, so we need to build a new staff, new generation. We need to build capacity for the junior mostly. We need global heritage network. At the moment, now we collaborate with UNESCO, Ali Foundation, SIFDAS, Georgia Henkel Humboldt University, American Sudanese Research Center, and also all the archaeological mission who work in Sudan. So the British Museum, the Louvre, so this is all our partner, and we really thank them for support us in during this. And still, I think we didn't finish. Still, we are collaborate. We need still to work. This is just brief and short about what is going on in Sudan. And thank you.
Thank you, Shadia, so much for all these insights into the enormous work that you're currently doing with all your colleagues. I think on the one hand, we're seeing all the destroyed museums. Yeah. Our hearts are broken, but we are very hopeful and positive that with your help and also of the help of the younger generation, there will be a joint effort in creating new spaces. And you mentioned also the role of museums in Sudan as community spaces where people meet, where they talk about who they are, where they come from.
Exactly.
And this is very important. So thank you again.
Yeah, and I just want to say to Joyce, to Johannes something. He did a tour visit for me today in the museum, and it's really give me hope when I saw the way of display here. So there is many things we can do also, I think. So thank you for really today you show me this inspiring me, inspiration.
But you are here, and we were keen on having you here to hear you speak, so the floor is yours. Thank you, Shadia. Now we want to continue with the program, and the next speaker would be Dr. Ahmed Junaid Sorosh-Wali, who is the head of office and representative of UNESCO in Sudan. And with a background in architecture and heritage conservation, he has worked for many years on cultural heritage management and international cooperation programs in the Middle East and North Africa. In Sudan, he coordinates UNESCO initiatives aimed at protecting cultural heritage, supporting museums and archaeological sites, and you've also heard UNESCO being mentioned many times also during Shadia's talk, and also as a role of strengthening cultural and educational institutions during the war and also after. So, Junaid, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Buona serata. It's really a great pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon. Excellency, the Ambassador of Sudan in Italy, Dr. Shadia, Johannes, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Egyptian Museum in Turin and to the Global Aid Connection, especially Mr. Yagoub, and also for CPEC, for having invited me to this important panel focusing on Sudan's archaeological heritage in the beautiful city of Turin. It's a great honor for me to be here with you today and to share UNESCO's work and UNESCO's contribution to the very much needed support to safeguarding of cultural heritage in Sudan. Of course, Sudan is going through a lot for many years, and as you said, Your Excellency, this needed, of course, war again in Sudan is very difficult at all levels and humanitarian levels mainly. And it is very encouraging to see that such events is organized, and again thank the Egyptian Museum here for providing also a platform and an opportunity to talk about the rich and very important cultural heritage of Sudan. As we mentioned, it's part of the identity of Sudanese people, and also part of the heritage of humanity, shared heritage of an international community, as you know. And I think it's really important to talk about these, the importance of cultural heritage, even at the time of conflict, and despite the needs and the focus also on humanitarian needs actually on the ground. So I prepared for you a presentation because I'm working with my great team actually in Sudan, in Port Sudan, and we have some projects here and there and contribute, as Dr. Shadia was saying, to the extent we can, but also to talk about a little bit the legal, international and global cooperation framework that we also established to enhance support and coordination to this protection of cultural heritage in Sudan, and also some of the activities we carry out on the ground. So as you know, since April 2023, Sudan has been engulfed in a devastating conflict described by the UN as the world's worst humanitarian crisis. As of early 2026, an estimated 12 million people are displaced within and outside Sudan. Over 30 million people require urgent humanitarian assistance across multiple sectors. Given the recent context and as the positive development with the retaking of some cities, more than 3 million displaced people have begun returning to their areas of origin, including over 1 million returning back to Khartoum, as conditions in part of Sudan is positively evolving and progressing. UNESCO office in Sudan has established in 2006 with a clear purpose to work alongside the Sudanese people in shaping a shared vision for prosperity, development, and well-being through education, culture, sciences, and communication and information. In the field of culture, which I believe the purpose of our discussion today, UNESCO Sudan office supports the protection of cultural heritage, tangible and intangible, and documentary heritage under threat, which involves also museums, world heritage sites, and living traditions. UNESCO documents damage, support the digitization of collections, and fights illicit trafficking of cultural properties. We also empowering artists and cultural professionals and the protection and promotion of diversity of cultural expressions. Since the start of the war in 2023, UNESCO issued 4 international public appeals and alerts urging global solidarity to prevent looting, illicit trafficking, and the loss of Sudanese cultural heritage amid escalating security risks and reported collection disappearance. 15 public condemnation statement was made by our Director General of journalists killed since the onset of the war. And okay, there's something that has gone. So I was taught to talk here about the high-level information meeting for member states of UNESCO in May last year at UNESCO's headquarters, during which an emergency action plan for Sudan was prepared and presented. So the government of Sudan and Sudanese authorities asked UNESCO to prepare a comprehensive programmatic emergency action plan in our area of mandate, which is education, culture, sciences, and media information in Sudan. And we responded to this call and appeal, and we presented the results of this action plan that we prepared in consultation, of course, with the national authorities and the Sudanese experts inside and outside the country. And the action plan, in a nutshell, is grounded in national and international consultations, defines priority interventions across education, culture, sciences, and media, focuses on short and medium-term implementation, and identifies critical funding gaps also, and remains adaptable and evolving based on the needs that we identify on the ground, and we are informed and work on with our stakeholders on the ground. So, as a part of the work that we also carried out is the assessment of damage. So the key preliminary figures from assessment on the impact of war are the following. I focus mainly on 4 areas of our work. Education sector, 90 million children are out of school, 2.2 million in Al Jazeera and South Kordofan. Unfortunately, an area of also under intense conflict and war these days and weeks, unfortunately. 2.8 million displaced, 3 million displaced within the country. 80% of higher education institutions are non-operational. Of course, in the field of education, I want to say also something that we also prepared and helped with the preparation of the Transitional Education Plan, which is a plan for the education sector for 2025-2027, and which is implemented by the Sudanese authorities. And then there's a big gap. Actually, the gap in terms of funding is $315 million. So what does it mean? Basically, we did scenarios based on the gap. So basically, what the government and with the support of international community is implementing is basically, in a family of 4 people, the authorities and currently, we are able to send 1 child to school. So this is the level of the impact also on education. Just I want to mention also this. In the field of culture, 76 heritage sites have been inventoried and including T-World heritage properties, and 22 museums have been assessed, and I'm very pleased to see that Dr. Shadia and the income team is continuing their efforts and further assessing the impact of the war actually on the condition of these museums also on the ground. We conducted risk and damage assessment of 11 priority heritage sites, more than 190 artifacts have been stolen, reported, 4,000 of them only from Sudanese National Museum, 1,700 plus culture objects, and 100 ancient artifacts, manuscripts actually are at risk. These are also important part of Sudanese heritage. In the science sector, 124 universities and colleges have been destroyed and looted. 1,880 laboratories destroyed and damaged, 241 libraries, 2,550 halls, and 6,175 offices destroyed and looted. This information is also coming from the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. Multiple universities were damaged in Khartoum and 6 others in 6 other states. In the field of communication and information, 15 journalists have been killed, as reported to UNESCO. UNESCO issued, as I was mentioning, public condemnation statements. Over 90% of journalists are unemployed, and 53% are exposed to physical violence. 90% of media outlets are shut down because of this war. 47 out of 57 outlets ceased operation by October 2027 because of this war. Now, in a nutshell, also the funding needs and the gaps. So basically in the field of education, as I was mentioning, and it's part of the emergency action plan actually that we identified these gaps actually and through our assessment. So in the field of education, the main goal being safeguarding of access to safe, equitable, inclusive, and gender-responsive quality education for Sudanese children, youth, and women through leadership in education sector coordination and provision of flexible learning pathways. So this is basically part of the transition education plan with the funding gaps in the field of culture. And I remind you that these figures is only for priority and midterm, short and midterm priorities. It's not for longer term, okay? Gaps in terms of funding. And then in the field of culture, as of today, $30 million is required for the safeguarding of culture sector, mainly to support the monitoring, protection, and preservation of cultural heritage and creative industries in Sudan. Of course, our main interest is here as the archaeological site, but we have to also talk about other sectors linked to the culture sector. And of course, in the culture domain of sciences and mainly natural sciences, we need to protect the environment and building the resilience of science sector by strengthening water resources preservation, preventive conservation, and protection of areas, disasters risk reduction measures, but also risk preparedness measures, and this require $1.5 million. In the field of communication, media, and information, $3 million required to ensure access to information and the safety of journalists, support the safety of journalists, and strengthen access to life-saving and humanitarian information through media, but also to fight hate speech, countering hate speech and misinformation, because this is also a major case of a cause of continuation of the war, hate speech. So mainly in the field of culture, actually, I would be focusing mainly in this area. Before the outbreak of the war, UNESCO was actively engaged in major projects funded by the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, AICS, and they are generously continuing their support in the field of education and culture. And these efforts were aimed at the rehabilitation of the Sudanese National Museum with an opening planned for the end of 2023. Unfortunately, the war started in April 2023. Unfortunately, of course, the conflict forced the suspension of this project, but UNESCO continues to pursue its objectives in close collaboration with the national expert and NCAM, and we continue to implement some of our work. In this picture, you would see some of the implemented activities. It's about the conservation of 43 Christian mural painting from the Faras Cathedral, Nativity and Birth of the Christ, Jesus Christ, and associated with the practical capacity building for 30 staff of the Sudanese National Museum. And then again, thanks to Italians experts who came at that time in Khartoum, and they delivered also this training and conservation work. And luckily, I have to say, and I will show you some picture, luckily, despite all these challenges, the Christian collection has basically remained intact. So they didn't actually loot it and damage it immensely. So we are very happy because we put it in safety because of rehabilitation work, but then it remains in safety. Okay, this picture is very interesting because it shows the level of our design actually and finalization of our work and in terms of rehabilitation of the museum. And this slide shows a design projected and was about to be finalized for the National Museum collection exhibition, and this was done by Ars Progetti, a very well-known actually expert firm that I have also had the opportunity to work with them in Mosul in Iraq. So this is the ground floor exhibition displaying artifacts from the prehistory to the post-Meroitic, and the upper gallery focused on the Christian Islamic and Islamic collection. So the new exhibition design and setup with the core exhibition focus on the colossal statues that you can see very much also valorized in this rendering here. Initiation also was undertaken of rehabilitation work and preparation of the new exhibition. Here you can see the dismantling actually of the process of the colossal statue of Atlanera, apologies if I pronounce it badly, to its new position in the gallery. Ceremony of here you can see the ceremony of re-exhibition of colossal statue of Taharqa. And here the promotion of Sudanese, of course, National Museum as a culture and education center accessible to the general public and youth. I mean, I can't but emphasize the importance of museum in the society as and its contribution to social cohesion and the society. So we were already working with our partners actually in this regard as part of the rehabilitation of the museum. So quickly on the extent of the damage to Sudanese National Museum and our key museums and World Heritage Sites, I will be just mentioning the designing of an online survey to monitor the progress of the damaged sites and museums. This survey has been widely shared with the key stakeholders involved in the antiquities and of course in charge of living heritage in the country and documentary heritage. This was also covering arts and archives as well as the cultural heritage sites, and they have been also shared with their professionals. Huge amount of work still need to be done because now we have access fairly to some of the sites, so the proper damage assessment also needs to, in detail, should be also carried out. The result of this survey, along with the outcome of the workshops on crisis response, risk mitigation, and first aid for Sudan's heritage, that has been also held in Cairo in April 2024, where we presented actually during the expert meetings also in April the assessment of the impact of a war on Sudanese cultural heritage. So here I will go, of course, those meetings actually we carried out in 2024 resulted in the development of an action plan, and the action plan that I was mentioning actually previously, and the comprehensive one and short and mid-term priorities to be addressed in the field of culture. Of course, we also carried out the documentation of the extent of damage of the National Museum. So here you can see the destruction and vandalism of the looting of exhibition and reconstruction of the post-Meroitic tomb here, actually at the entrance of the National Museum. This is actually, I went there myself actually last year, and we returned again this year. This is the extent of the destruction and vandalism and looting in the museum. Actually, the ramp, some rockets and missiles that targeted the building, and also unfortunately damaged not only the building but a part of the reserve and the storage of the collections. And also you see, this is my colleague, head of my culture unit now, former director of income and the director of the museum, Dr. Abdelhamid. And this was the current Director General's, Museum Director General's office, actually. So you see the extent, we were all shocked, and mainly himself, with the extent of the destruction. And also this destruction of vandalism, of course, looting, actually, I was mentioning, of the building. So a part of the administrative building inside the museum had been used by snipers, because it was high level, and then we're using from the balcony. And then this is actually, I took those pictures actually myself, 100,000 of bullets, heavy machine guns actually that have been used. So you can imagine the extent of human damage actually on the other side as well. This is exactly where the sniper was located and was targeted. So, yes, so this is about the destruction and looting of the annex, Store Z actually, of the museum, hosting the collections from the UNESCO International Campaign that you also mentioned for the safeguarding of Nubian heritage, carried out in 1960-1964, and has been now, all these collections have been endangered by, of course, at that time by inundation of the waters for a high dam, but now definitely damaged and burned, actually. And some of these objects were very unique, actually, but unfortunately very heavily damaged. Also, this is the extent of damage to the other museums that you are also mentioning. I don't go very much into detail to this, but it's about Khalifa House Museum, and also the theater in Jenin. And of course, due to the war, many of the citizens fled to the safe areas in the North Sudan, and here you can see the uncontrolled visitation of a huge number of visitors to the World Heritage Property of the Jabal Balkar, of course impacting somehow the site as well. This is, UNESCO also documented the impact of the climate change on the property of World Heritage Site of Jabal Barkal, and mainly due to the heavy rains during 2024 rainy season. And here you see the extent of the damage actually to the archaeological remains. Inundation of the temple of Naga, part of the Merowe actually World Heritage Site, by the seasonal flooding and Wadi Awatib area. So impact of also of the climate change on accumulation of sand dune around the Merowe pyramids is also very important to mention, and mainly due to the percolation of water through the summit of the minarets to the inside the pyramids, and leading to its destabilization of also the stabilization of its foundation of the pyramids. So here also we also documented the impact of uncontrolled and illicit gold mining in island of Sai. Fortunately, some of this gold mining have been stopped in the North State by the authorities, but still in many areas it's ongoing. So UNESCO was also monitoring illicit trafficking of cultural properties through the social media platforms, because as you know, a part of this illicit trafficking and selling of the cultural artifacts is happening through the social media platforms. So this is a work we would like to continue also with other partners, but at this stage, I mean, when we carried out this by end of last year, 111 Facebook posts were related to looting objects, and 55 Facebook groups were involved in the artifact and illicit trafficking of these artifacts. I will not go into details, but you can see also this, but also the UNESCO also undertake the promoting the diversity of culture expression and successfully implemented the mapping of the books and publishing sector in Sudan, which we completed in 2024. The project also provided a clear and well-documented assessment of the current state of the books and publishing sector, which has been really and heavily damaged. So we still need to focus and work in this area. Okay. Actually, this is also about the impact on the media and radio stations. So the Sudanese authority also revealed that more than 4,000 objects have been looted from the Sudanese National Museum. In addition to this looted objects, we have also looted objects that have been mentioned from Khalifa House Museum, Ethnographic Museum, and all museums in the Western Sudan. Here quickly about UNESCO's response. Just after the war, UNESCO acted swiftly and coordinating with the Ministry of Culture, Income, on the monitoring of heritage sites and museums nationwide. Significant risks and damage were identified, prompting the launching of the project urgent safeguarding measures for Sudanese cultural heritage through UNESCO's emergency fund, Heritage Emergency Fund, in partnership with National Corporation and for Antiquities and Museum, Income, and also this initiative also enabled, as you can see on this picture, the inventory of 1,737 objects and the preparation of the database for 5 museums that has been carried out, mainly in Jebel Barkal, Kerma Museum, Damer, Jazeera, and Red Sea Museum. This was also mentioned by Dr. Shadia earlier. And we also helped in the packing of and relocation of some of the collection of the museum in safety, mainly in this case in the Kerma Museum. And we carried out also the assessment and monitoring of missions actually to the World Heritage Site, in this case in the Jebel Barkal. And it's very important, as we are mentioning, to involve the local authorities and counterparts and raise awareness and work on the advocacy with them, and we continue to do this. Okay, as part of, the text has disappeared. As part of the emergency response, we also, for the museum, we also, in addition to evacuation of some of the collection, we also addressed the threat from the rainwater here in Jebel Barkal Museum through this preparation of this drainage system. We also installed concrete poles, actually, to protect the buffer zone and core zone of the World Heritage Site of Jebel Barkal. Previously, cars could go and access the archaeological site, which is behind this, and impact the stability, actually, also of the pyramids, and also the archaeological site. So we prevent, actually, from this. And other mitigation measures are also being implemented here in Merowe because of the rainwater. Of course, as I was mentioning, the foundation of the pyramids have been affected. So here we are working on the opening of drainage channels, actually. And this is done through also our UNESCO's World Heritage Fund. And we'll continue to do this in Jebel Barkal and Merowe World Heritage Sites. We also, as I was mentioning, helped in the National Museum with the removal of the debris from the and explosive materials from the National Museum for the safety of staff. And I think I have to acknowledge here and the dedicated work of the National Museum, Sudanese experts and curators. Despite all this context, they were working very, very seriously and doing really great job. And our work is also to support them with the equipment, training, and also provide them. Last time went in September, they said there's some explosive devices still there. So we said, okay, you can stay in one probably room until we clean and clear the other rooms for you, so you can have access to more comfortable and safer working environment. So this is the work that we have done actually with the National Center for Mine Action that declared actually last 2 months ago the site safe of explosive devices. You can see some drones actually, and some rockets have been launched and exploded. They've been putting the life and of the experts actually at risk. So, and we also provided training for 52 Sudanese National Museum staff to how to tackle and address the issues of explosive devices, and they will be doing this now in other museums actually that have been also damaged. Here also we are mentioning about these containers that have been damaged and then stolen, but we repaired to the extent we could and cleared the site from, so this is the pictures of the sites actually, and this is also part of the shelters from the previous campaign, the temples that have been dismantled and reassembled inside the museum open area. And then we cleaned all this actually from rubbles and war debris. This is the meeting room actually, some examples that we now will be using for further training that we furnished and cleaned. This is of course one of the other meeting rooms that we also cleaned. So we prepared restored number of offices so the staff can work from there. And this is also the visit of His Excellency the Minister of Culture to our office in Port Sudan and the Undersecretary, and I was presenting to them the third set of equipment. And all this is done thanks to also to the Italian government through their cooperation development mechanism that they fund actually an important project. So all these interventions in terms of design of the project at the museum and the rehabilitation of the museum, capacity development, restoration, demining and clearance, providing of the supply of this needed equipment is also done thanks to the government of Italy. So I'm very grateful for their support, because after the war erupted, a part of this fund was reallocated for other emergency priorities that we are currently implementing. Based on of course, of the strategy of intangible cultural heritage that we prepared in 2002 for 2020 to 2029 with the national authorities and mainly the ministry, UNESCO also implemented an assessment of the impact of war on intangible cultural heritage. Of course, we are talking about museum archaeological artifact, but it's important to also talk about the impact of war also on the intangible heritage of Sudan. And this impact assessment has been carried out in 6 states, and this was also supported by Ali Foundation. It focused on the protecting Sudanese rich cultural heritage and diverse cultural heritage, empowering affected communities, and raising also awareness about the importance of safeguarding of living heritage despite the war. And mainly because of the war, because as you know, people who carry and bury the intangible heritage, basically most of the intangible heritage actually, some of them also inscribed the same level as the cuisine, Italian cuisine actually, and also in Sudan we have important elements inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage, Intangible Heritage. Those heritage are transmitted verbally, orally from one community to another, and from one generation basically to another generation. And most of the bearer of this heritage has been displaced inside the country and outside the country. So there's a high risk for higher impact on those intangible heritage, because if the bearer and the people, mainly women, who are carrying and have the knowledge of those intangible heritage, they are gone, then the practice is gone. So this is very important to do for us to do an inventory of what is the condition of the intangible heritage. And this assessment helped us to also take informed decision. It came with a number of recommendations also on what to do. We also supported the Beja Research Institute to digitize 100 ancient manuscripts and historical documentations in the Eastern Sudan, and trained 30 community members in digitization and technique. And this is also to support the strengthening documentary heritage preservation. I think this is also an area that the museum and Italian expert can also help, because we can provide the materials, but we can also, the training room could be also used to provide remotely the knowledge that the Sudanese expert that can use in the country actually for the preservation and better digitization of their cultural heritage. So we also support the culture and creative industry, mainly here in Port Sudan actually through our UNESCO's funding. We provided support to Sudanese artists and culture professionals with the setup of hubs, with the collaboration of three civil society organizations, institutions, mainly in Port Sudan. We supported 270 artists and culture professionals, including 156 women and at least 150 IDPs, internally displaced people, in the time of conflict. Through targeting and emergency intervention, and we mainly focused on skill building, provision of essential equipment, establishing safe, well-equipped and inclusive space for them to meet and practice their cultural and artistic kind of skills, creating a cross-border network for collaboration and support and artistic production and livelihoods. There was also, we had a number of festivals and culture events. It's very important that we keep up with this valorization and promotion of Sudanese heritage, because it's very rich country, as it has been mentioned, in terms of living heritage, but also culture and tangible heritage. So people are thirsty and starving of this opportunity to celebrate together their cultural heritage, living heritage together. And we provided with this kind of opportunity with a very important festival that we organized that was called Wasel, actually, with very connection, which is a nice name, actually, with the Partif Association in Sudan, Port Sudan. Okay, I'm not going too much into details. We had a number of training actually on illicit trafficking of cultural property. This is very important in the context of the museums, capacity building and workshop that we carried out previously since 2024. Mainly one in the international work capacity building we organized in April in Cairo, because an important part of the national experts there also in Cairo, so in order for them also to actively participate. And in this international workshop, we had 18 representatives and experts from all around the world, but also 14 participants from Sudan. We also, this is the international workshop that I was talking about. We also conducted a specialized training for 52 museum staff in cleaning and removal of debris, as I was mentioning. This was this is it. Actually, some pictures. And we also organized in November last year training for 70 experts on culture heritage professionals, law enforcement, custom officials, and security officers, and raise their awareness for illicit trafficking. Why? Because it's very important for the recovery of cultural heritage and unlooted objects. I'm finishing now. This is a workshop we organized 2 weeks ago in Cairo, 3 workshops back to back, again on how to fight illicit trafficking of culture property. I was very pleased to have Dr. Shadia again presenting also his work. All these are Sudanese and international experts, very committed to support our initiatives as well. And we also discussed about another topic that you mentioned, Your Excellency, the ratification of the convention. You mentioned the ratification of the 1970 convention for the prevention of and looting of and prohibition of illicit trafficking of cultural properties. So this is the 1970 UNESCO convention. Unfortunately, Sudan didn't ratify this convention. So we pushed and we supported technically for the ratification of this convention, along with the ratification of the Convention for Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage, which is known as 2001 Convention, and also the UNIDROIT Convention, 1995 Convention, sorry. And this is very important because without the ratification of this tool, the international community cannot support, because the conventions also provide for the international community to get together and support and enhance international collaboration through the commonly ratified and jointly ratified conventions. So this is very important, but now the convention has been endorsed by the Council of Ministers, and it's waiting the President signature to be submitted to UNESCO, and then we will undertake actually a number of other trainings in the coming months, including the revision of the Antiquities Act to include the provision of this convention and the national law. This is also very important. Last slide is about the gaps. Actually, I was mentioning, I will not go into very much details, but you see, you can read that there's lots of gaps to address. So they were talking about actually, Johannes, about the international collaboration. Yes, we would like the international community, expert community to also to support through the means they can. And this is why UNESCO, along with the preparation of the action plan, we created a special account, emergency account, for the emergency action plan for Sudan. We received some funding, contribution from different government, $20,000 from Norway, $60,000 from Switzerland, 8,000 euros from Slovakia. We received from Luxembourg also $20,000, $25,000. So these are a small amount of money, but we have around $100,000 that help us to implement the priority actions that the government of Sudan asked us to prepare, and they endorsed it, and the member states have also endorsed. So just to tell you that there is a mechanism of support, financial support, but the UNESCO is also very keen to receive any in-kind contribution in terms of technical expertise. So this is what I wanted to tell you, and thank you very much for the opportunity and for the organization, and congratulations. Thank you very much. Sorry for being a bit long.
Thank you so much for this very detailed presentation of all the amazing work that you do at UNESCO. Please remain here, because we are now going to immediately start with the, let's say, last section of this day, the panel discussion. Time is running short, no? And we already have Ahmed Junaid Sorosh-Wali here. I've introduced him already. I would also like to ask again Shadia to the floor, please. Because now we want to get, let's say, liven up a little bit the discussion. No, not necessarily doing focus or one person talking, but the idea is to kind of create sort of a dialogue or a discussion among some experts. And the idea of today's panel is to bring scholars, museum professionals, and representatives of international organizations who work with the cultural heritage of Sudan and the Nile Valley together and discuss some key issues. Next to these two people that you have already seen here on the stage, Shadia and Junaid, I also would like to invite Dr. Francesca Iannarilli to the stage. She's an Egyptologist at Foscari, University of Venice, and her research focuses on Egyptian funerary texts and on the archaeology of Nubia, and she has been involved for several years in archaeological fieldwork at Jebel Barkal in Sudan. Then I would also like to invite Federico Zaina here. He's the head of the collection and research area at the Museo Egizio here in Turin, where he oversees all our research activities and the study and management of the museum's Egyptian collection. Then there's also Yagoub that I would like to invite. He represents Global Aid Connection and is engaged in initiatives that promote international cooperation in support of Sudanese communities and the safeguarding of cultural heritage. And we also have a special guest. No? Yagoub wanted to...
Yes, please.
Would have been Natalie Lithwick, so also one of the driving forces behind today's afternoon. Anyhow, welcome you all. I hope you're doing great. I have prepared some questions for you to get a discussion going, so all the microphones here should work, I hope. And to get the kind of discussion starting, a question for all of you. I would ask you to answer briefly, to not take too much time, but let's say looking across the landscape of what is currently done in Sudan by institutions, NGOs, international bodies, which initiatives or approaches do you find most effective or promising? We've heard a lot about different elements and things and possibilities, but what would you think are those that work the best, while others maybe don't work so well or stall often or are not really focusing on the needs on the ground, or maybe sometimes set up by people that don't really know well the local specifics? Maybe Shadia, you have an idea? Do you have an answer? What is, from your personal perspective, the initiative that, let's say, has the most promise, or that for you really, where you see yourself involved, but where you also think?
It's difficult. You beat me really, it's difficult really to evaluate, It's really difficult, I hope if I'm the last one who comment on that, I think there is a lot of initiative. Honestly, yes, most of, on the ground, it's been useful a lot. But I think in a situation, in the current situation or the conflict situation, you need to look to the priorities. But just, sometimes, I'm not going to point which initiative, but in general, some initiative is not, parallel to our priorities at the moment. Yeah, there is funding, there is money, but it's not what we need exactly, So I hope is to be any initiative to be collaborate or with institute, with income, with institute who's really, working on the ground. So because we know our priorities. So that's what.
Yes, sure. Yes, please.
Thank you. I think that no, it's not working. Thanks. I think that the digitalization of the objects of the cultural heritage, the material heritage, not only of the National Museum of Sudan, but of many other museums and archaeological sites, can be really important in this moment, especially after the looting of the National Museum of Sudan and others museum. But I'm asking to myself and to all the colleagues how this can be really done, because it's huge. It's a huge work and it's very difficult. So how can we help? international archaeological mission and scholars. And maybe I ask to Shadia, but not only, how can we do something useful for this?
Well, I would like to take on Shahad's points, because what you said is exactly one thing that for decades archaeologists, heritage experts and so forth kind of neglected, meaning the relevance of the local people, which are those who, I don't want to say own the past, because it can be a very critical word, but there are those that, as you said, know what is relevant, what is more important to preserve, and how it could be done. And I was particularly struck in a positive way to see, for example, how much activities you guys are doing in involving local communities. I think about the how this can be, this can be read, for example, in the frame of the Faro Convention, which puts communities at the center of the construction of heritage, and how in the past this has been neglected. While you were showing the images of the Khartoum Museum destroyed, I was thinking about what happened more than 20 years ago in Baghdad, and how the Iraqi themselves, for a number of reasons that we don't have time here to discuss, they destroy their own past. So I totally agree with your point. We should start from the voices of the locals to reconstruct everything.
Yes, I echo what has been said by Shadia and also other participants. UNESCO also, we are on the ground, actually. None of the work we can do, and the majority, if not all of them, has been done by Sudanese experts. But now we are running out of Sudanese experts inside Sudan. So actually, it's really, we know that the capacity building is important, and it is in all areas. We really focus on capacity building, because we have to build a new generation of curators, archaeologists, who can take care of their heritage, while we have mentors like Dr. Shadia and others also supporting, even from outside the country. This is what we do actually with them and for them. And I believe that digitization is good. This is why we supply all these materials and equipment, but also capacity building on how to use them, providing with the methodology, how this can be done. Now we know that we provided 3 sets of laptops, desktops, storage, server actually, and materials, thanks to funding from Italy, to the museum staff and the ministry. But there's only few people actually working on the actual inventory of the collection. So we would like to see this also enhanced, and I think this is you actually. And then, of course, UNESCO also would stand ready to support in this area, of course. This is about the capacity building, but also none of this could be done also without financial support. This is why you created this common pooling funding system that avoid also duplication, because there's lots of entities, associations, cultural actors like this museum. They're very much interested to support, but they don't know how. We already identified the priority as we work actually last week again in the reviewing of the priority in the field of culture. It's all identified not by UNESCO, by them, and in coordination, because we can go easily in and out also in Sudan and with them. So this is also very important to emphasize, and the amounts and also huge, and it could be financial but also in kind, as we say. Thank you.
I agree with Junaid about education, about new generation of personnel that should work in the artifacts and the museums. And also, I think we should come together, experts, international organizations, authorities, diaspora, experts, to discuss and to find the way of collaboration and to listen to each other and to learn from each other and to come out with an action plan that all people can come together and do something. For example, a plan of new mechanisms or for fundraising, and the diaspora can do a lot on that, and also individualize also abroad. Students can do this kind of trainings, and the collaboration of UNESCO, I think, is important on that, and also enter museums. Open doors museum like Museo Egizio give us a space, give us the voice, so we can reach international community, and also continue our collaboration with museums, Museo Egizio, Museum of Berlin, all the museums that have artifacts, also Sudanese artifacts. We can make exhibitions, we can make fundraising awareness also about what's going on in Sudan. So I think what is done now is huge, although the difficulties of reaching the sites of some places, but also it needs people talk together and to know what is done, and to know how others can take part of that.
Yeah, I think I agree with all about education, capacity, and documentation, which is a huge, and the sustainability, because now we are working on database, but we are looking about this huge database. How can we preserve it? How can we the sustainable of this data in the future? I'm looking for, this. But I add 2 points besides capacity building, besides documentation. Now, what left from collection in Sudan, and we need to re-exhibit and reopen our museum. How can we design a new museum with what is left now? This is important for us. We have a lot of collection in the international museums. I think if we can make a copies or duplicate from at least the masterpieces, this is also with support a lot, and with also redesigning an exhibition what we have now in Sudan. How can we display it in a new way?
In this regard, I have good news for you, because the last dedicated workshop that we organized 2 weeks ago was their 1 day dedicated to rehabilitation of Sudanese National Museum. And I'm again grateful to government of Italy since 2020 actually supporting the rehabilitation that I was mentioning was stopped. But they showed some positive sign actually, and then we are working on a proposal, because we have also did the damage assessment, full damage assessment that will be finalized soon, and revisiting of the design and set up the museum, how to improve the new museum design. So we just need to have some generous supporter. We have the design I showed you in terms of collection, everything is there. We were about to install the security cameras and the showcases, and then the water up that everything was looted. So we are thinking like you and proactively. We prepare the ground, and I think it is very important also to think about future, because this actions that we are taking, thinking about freedom, also about hope. And this is very important in the current context. Thank you.
If I may, you have mentioned the huge work that you're doing in the Khartoum Museum, but in your presentation you also showed that other places around the country suffered a lot, mostly other museums. Shahad showed extensively the example. So I also wonder whether focusing mostly, which is of course important, but not only to the museum that we can say it's a kind of symbol of the country should be done. I mean, I'm sure, I hope and I'm sure that effort will be also put in restoring, reorganizing and then reopening other museums like those that you showed. Because, of course, what you demonstrated in this presentation is that your heritage is highly diversified, and it's not just the single voice, although very huge, that the Khartoum Museum can bring, but it's a very kaleidoscopic heritage, I would say. So I also wonder what in this regard you are planning to do, in particular UNESCO.
Thank you for the question. I think the Deputy Director of Museums is also here. I think so. I briefly would say that the fact that UNESCO is now currently having the opportunity to focus on Sudanese National Museum doesn't mean that the other museum doesn't have been impacted or does not have been impacted or do not have importance to us. All museums are playing an important role, and as you rightly said, representing the very rich and diversified cultural heritage of Sudan. I think what we have to say is that a comprehensive damage assessment, along with the monitoring also of the site museums actually condition, is key. In some areas, some towns, the museums are better condition, but there are plenty of them that Dr. Shadia was mentioning have been damaged. Some of them we don't have access and we don't have information, but they are not forgotten. We have to be very careful, and we are actually as UNESCO, whenever there's an opportunity for support, we will be able with the national experts and partners to implement something. And again, the emergency action plan is very comprehensive. It has a provision as part of the priority, the monitoring of cultural heritage site and support to the museum. It's all there. It's not only Sudanese National Museum, but others. But we are privileged to have the opportunity and financial means thanks to Italy, to implement some activities in the Sudanese National Museum, and also use this opportunity as a pilot, because then the context is new for many of the actors that you know, for curators. So they have to also refresh, if not learn how to behave in this kind of situation. So the expertise, the trainings that has been provided in the Sudan National Museum, but not only for the experts and the staff of Sudan National Museum, but also there are others, would help for other museums as well. For example, in 2 weeks' time, we will be having a dedicated workshop in Khartoum for all a part of Sudan, but also for the north of Sudan in this state of Dongola, because there's some archaeological sites and some site museum, on how to implement preventive protection of cultural objects. Because we managed to protect a part of them, unfortunately not all of them, but we have to anticipate this and to train those people on how to do this in their respective local museum as well. Yes, probably you wanted to add something.
Shadia, do you have any comments? Then I would maybe also open a little bit another topic, and also since we have Francesca here as an active member of an active excavation in Sudan, since many museums and archaeologists have decades of academic ties with Sudan, Sudanese friends, Sudanese communities, the local people that you have worked with, how did you remain in contact and communicate with your communities in Sudan at Jebel Barkal during the times of war? I mean, how could you be of help, of support? What were your means of your team, of your project to keep in touch and keep close?
In the first months of the war was not easy actually, but we could say also that Jebel Barkal is lucky in some way, because there is a site in the north and was quite protected. It is lucky also because the presence of a police station and because the presence of an income community station, we could say, an income group. There's our colleagues there is the colleague Sami El-Amin, who is doing a lot of work with the community of Karima, of the city close to the site, and this is a kind of a lucky situation, but we have the opportunity to communicate by WhatsApp sometimes and by mail with our workers, with our friends, and of course with the inspector. We have a connection with Dr. Mohammed Al-Tom, who has been the inspector for our mission for at least 10 years. So the only thing we could do in the past 3 years was to send some funds, but a few money actually, for the conservation and restoration of structure through Mohammed Al-Tom, through our friends and colleagues. The problems for the Italian missions, not only for the Italian missions, probably international archaeological missions, are funds now, because since the outbreaking of the war, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs didn't fund the missions in Sudan anymore. And it was the same for the research institutes or universities sometimes, because for these funders there's no need to give money to an archaeological mission who is not on the field. But missions, and especially people who worked for this mission, Sudanese people, Sudanese inspectors and colleagues, actually continue to need help, to need economic funds, to need economic help, and not only. And then there are many problems about this, because we continued to organize many things, many activities, also by remote, and everything is for free, I mean, because we love Sudan, because we try to do something useful, but it's never enough. It's not easy in this way.
Are there any other comments on this topic from the panelists? Maybe, I mean, Shadia, you might have also insights into this role, being an inspector also within the Abri area. How can we communicate? How can we?
Yeah, we try to.
How is this play between the archaeological projects and the people on site?
Yeah, you know, and so we try with the regional, which is far from the world. Like we're focusing now on the north mostly. And the east. We try to, because now you have the community, besides the local community, we have the displaced people who came from around Sudan. So we try to to establish some cultural center, like the one in Abri, you know about it, Beit Turas, we established it. So we try still to connect the community with archaeological site as possible. So we did, like with my colleague Nahid, some work on the behalf of Tombos team in Tombos. Also for Amara West, we try to do. So still we communicate, but not as we really we look for. It still is limited, very very limited. Or also still we try to monitor, but to monitor with as I told you, with training people as archaeologists or even students or even people who is working in cultural institute to be on the behalf of income or on behalf of society, on the behalf of archaeological mission to be the monitor for these sites. And
thank you. Now with my follow-up question, I want to come from Sudan to Italy. Today also here members of the Sudanese diaspora are present. They live in Italy, in Europe, but beyond raising awareness, what also concrete roles can the diaspora communities play? This is maybe a question properly directed at Yagoub, no? And what, in the way also, would they need from institutions like ENCAM, like UNESCO, like a museum that puts its hand into organizing something? What would they need from us or from those institutions, no, that are here represented? How can we integrate these voices and their energy and their will, no, to make also those communities participate in a productive and way?
Yes, today we demonstrate that the cooperation between diaspora communities and institutions, authorities, and scholars, expertise, international organizations is possible and necessary. And the diaspora should continue to play that role, to bring people together, to raise awareness, and to find new means of cooperation. And we are in Europe, and we are in touch with different institutions, foundations, and we can individualize funds. We can individualize institutions that interesting, that help. I think we, as Global Aid Connection and Sudanese diaspora and diaspora communities in Europe, we can organize another focus on Sudan. Could be a workshop to bring all the possibilities of funding, all possibilities of cooperation programs. And for example, I have been contacted with several Sudanese in Europe. For example, Hatim al-Noor, he was the director of antiquities in a museum in Sudan. Mus'ab al-Tayyib, he was with us here last Focus of Sudan 1, Friends of Sudan organization, Shuruq agency. There is a lot of these scholars, Sudanese, very interesting, and because of their priorities, they couldn't be with us here today, but we can organize a bigger workshop to discuss all this and bring all these people together, and the disponibility of the authorities. The ambassador is here, so we also we lean in their support and to bring all the Sudanese community also here, and they are creating an umbrella association of all Sudanese in Italy. So when this project come together, our voice will be stronger. And we can do more. Yes, thank you.
Other comments from the panelists on this topic? Then not, I will continue with another question. Maybe a little bit more directed to Federico Zaina here. Sudan is unfortunately not the first country to face this kind of cultural emergency. Iraq, Syria, Mali, Ukraine all have gone through versions of this. What is the most important lesson from those other experiences, or that you know about, also in different contexts and different circumstances, that we have not yet applied to Sudan? Is there something that we can learn from other scenarios that we now can apply in a active and positive way for Sudan?
Well, what we have seen this afternoon, it's a huge and a very coherent effort that is focusing in the multiple types of heritage of this country. So, if I have to think about something that has not been done yet, it's hard to say. What I can say, what I was also discussing to some of the colleagues before this day started, was that my experience in Iraq and Syria was it kind of remind me the importance of having a long-term perspective, because and this is something that I have happily see that is going on here in Sudan. So I don't want to say I want to stress something that is missing. I want to stress the importance of something that is going on, meaning that, and this is a mistake that most of archaeologists, but also countries, international organizations did in the past, meaning that you are fully active in the moment of the crisis, of the war, but then when things have when war is finished, when the international attention is moving from a country to another, which may be Afghanistan, and then Ukraine, and then Sudan, and then now Iran, and so forth. Also, the economic effort, the academic effort are shifting, and those countries that still need to be supported are left behind. This is something that, of course, now it's more mitigated. That I'm happy to see that it's not happening in Sudan, but I think that it's always important to keep the attention high on this, because the risk is that after the big crisis is ended and there is a new scenario that we have to deal with, all the efforts, economic, scientific, even personal interest, in most cases may shift and may forget the simple fact that that country, that place still needs to be supported over the long term. So mine is just I want to encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing, because it's not what I've seen in the hundreds of archaeological sites of southern Iraq that were left behind after having been looted for decades. So this is among the multiple things that we think about in the few minutes that we have. Unfortunately, I wanted to share with all of you.
Are there any immediate comments and reactions towards this from?
I think what you raised is very important. I fully agree with you. I think we have to always keep in mind the impact of actions we are taking today, or we are not taking today. As we speak, I prepared actually with my education colleagues the cost of inaction. There's a document, the report we prepared, If we do not take care of education sector in Sudan now, what would be the impact in 10 years, 15 years time? So same exercise we can apply to culture sector. So I believe at UNESCO, and at UNESCO, we believe that culture and cultural heritage protection, promotion, and rehabilitation could serve as a driver for reconciliation, social cohesion, understanding, social and economic development. We have proven this. Before Sudan, I was working for 4.5 years in Iraq, and I was among other colleagues in charge of and supervising the implementation of the UNESCO flagship initiative, Revive the Spirit of Mosul. And we illustrated that coordination is very important, but also once the coordination is done, the international support and national support is there, we can use culture and rehabilitation of culture heritage as a good dynamic, as I said, a driver to bring the communities together. And this is unsustainable action, because war, what it does, we know, that divides the communities, it enhances hatred. The communities, people between each other. But through culture practices, through music, theater, performance, valorization, exhibition of cultural heritage sites and objects, we can bring the communities around their identities, what constitute their common identity. And this is very important, and we succeeded this in Iraq. We rehabilitated the two churches, one belonging to Dominican order, another to another church. We rehabilitated the Al-Nuri Mosque, where the al-Baghdadi announced, proclaimed ISIS. We rebuilt the minaret of Al-Hadaba, and we rehabilitated a part of the historic urban heritage of the Mosul through rehabilitation of historic buildings. And this, we didn't do. UNESCO actually was not alone. It was done by Iraqis for Iraqis. We just provided the opportunity. And then while they were doing this, they realized that how important their heritage is, how committed they showed, that mainly young people, they showed their commitment in rehabilitation. Then they learned to do the same thing and replicate those practices in other places in Iraq. So I think by investing also on this aspect of culture, because their humanitarian needs are a lot, and there's lots of wars actually, but we also, UNESCO at least, demonstrated that during the war, for example in Iraq, in Afghanistan, this is where I also worked, in Ukraine and Gaza, Palestine, which I know quite well as well, and also in Beirut, and now in Syria and Sudan, we can achieve these goals. But this require, I would say, a good coordination mechanism at international level to make sure that there's no one is left behind. And then despite the meager resources we have, but lots of enthusiasm and kind of commitment, we can reach the maximum of impact on the ground and avoid duplication. I think this is important.
Thank you. Since time is running out, we planned also to hear something from you, from the audience. Are there any questions that you would like to ask to the panelists or want to ask in general? Is there anyone among you who wants to say something? Also, yeah.
I'd like to hear from Philippa from her point of view. Because it's a similar issue, but a very different viewpoint. So I'd be curious to hear what future openings could you imagine after all this information? Pure imagination.
No one is putting you in the spotlight.
No,
Philippa,
clearly. I'm not sure why I'm supposed to speak here, because you are all such experts.
What I love about the museums in Sudan is this community aspect, that it's not a museum, it's not somewhere where you go to watch, it is where you go to celebrate, it's where you go to talk, it's really a hub. It's so different from museums in the West. And I think that is the really strong point. It's perhaps not even about the collection, even though the collection is important. Of course it is important, but the fact that people get together in these places, I think, is so special in the world. So to have an area that is safe again, that is my big hope for Sudan. Areas that are safe again, where people can get together, where hopefully they are not burdened by differences that always go together with war, but then that they really can have this beautiful soul of Sudan in these beautiful places with important cultural heritage, including the intangible cultural heritage. It's been damaged, but the soul is there. So I really want to thank you for presenting everything you did.
Thank you, Willeke. Are there other people who want to say something? Then it's, I think, also on us to conclude. But by the end of this panel, we don't only want to leave with good intentions and ideas, but what in your regard is, let's say, the most actionable step, something that could realistically be done in the next 6 months, that also we here represented as institutions, as people, could do together?
Well, as Museo Egizio, and I think that you agree, if not tell me, in most cases you ask for support in terms of expertise, in terms of what is our knowledge about, of course, driven by your necessities. So I think that, of course, as Museo Egizio, we are open, if I have to think first way of supporting you, we can certainly help with what is our experience here. You mentioned before that, but while you are visiting the museum, you are particularly interested in some of the solutions that we found in terms of exhibition. So I wonder, for example, if we could help in this way. This is just a very first idea. I don't know about funding because I have to ask to our director.
Maybe, let's let the microphone pass one round and then...
Yeah, from the archaeological missions, I think I can talk for myself and for the mission at Jebel Barkal, but also from other colleagues, that we are always available for expertise or for teaching, didactic, or everything. I can say funding, unfortunately not now, but for everything. And in this moment, there were here 3 students and scholars, also from Sudan, from the University of Khartoum, who are completing their Erasmus Plus in Venezia, Foscari. In the next few months, actually, another colleague will come, and I think that this could be an opportunity, at least for them now, but also for other scholars and students, Sudanese students all over Europe and all over the world. But as we said before, we hope that then they can come back in Sudan and be helpful for their countries. So if we can do something like this as both archaeological mission and research institutes to help. I don't know if useful or not, but
Yes. There's lots of things we can do. Naturally, there's lots of needs that we can address, but I think focusing on the priorities first. Please keep in mind that at international level, at the national level, an action plan, emergency action plan, is in place and being implemented. So let's please coordinate, work with each other, and this is kind of venues is an excellent opportunity to present who is doing what to avoid duplication. There's also donor fatigue. There's lots of wars, unfortunately, around the world. And as we speak, there's another one that started. So there's lots of needs, and then when there's people needing humanitarians, actually, emergency response, probably we don't think about preservation of museum culture objects. But we have to also think about this. But then the resources are not the same. So the best way is to really, my recommendation would be to enhance national, international coordination mechanism for rapid response and institutional resilience and capacity building. And UNESCO would be very happy and stand ready. I'd say this is to the Ministry of Culture as well to do this. We have done this in Afghanistan, and we saw how this could help as well. So, and yes, again, that the institutional cooperation framework within a clear action plan is there. Now, this said, colleagues can go to office nowadays in Khartoum, but there's no basically office and no furniture, no supply, no computer. They cannot work. So this is something that we can also support, and you can support. 2 computers, 3 computers, 1 printer can change their life, actually, at least professionally, to perform better. Now, as most of the institutions, ministries are going back to Khartoum, I think this is also another important area that we can support. As I was mentioning, we are rehabilitating the conference room of the museum. As we speak, we deliver the video conference system in the museum in order for you to also train the people in this room remotely if you cannot do that. So these are the kind of in-kind support that you can also provide. So the framework is there. Let's be a little bit focused on what we can do and in terms of priority and avoid duplication. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Junaid conclude, but and thank you for. I think this is one of the things really we need expertise. But this is something really is urgent and essentially from the archaeological mission. I think we need because most of the archaeological mission, a lot of research done. Some of the collections, so to provide us with documentation. This is really, if they have any documentation about collection, about Sudan, about different researches, this will help a lot. Also, there is archive everywhere. Like for example, in Italy, you have the big archive for in Pisa University, Georgina, Chief Giorgini. So. Archive also documentation for us as we are working on database. This will help a lot also. Expertise in conservation and in exhibition, I think, and we need to also to create a network even to the online with people in Sudan, outside, we are abroad in Europe, to this also as also like about our need, what we need. It could be not just in one workshop or here we can create or we can build a network which we can talk about or we can we can get ideas or from your expertise. This we can it could be I hope it could be like I don't know how to be like, but to be a network continuously to so that's what I think is about with community diaspora Sudanese. I think we need to involve because now as people working in a cultural institute, we took the responsibility of protection. I think we need to make our community bigger, law enforcement, community, all of us to sharing this, I think, responsibility. And we need meditator because now, as I mentioned, we have museum which is still under threatened. So we need meditator for negotiation about how can we take this collection in a safety area. And still we need politics to be included. We need, different,
Thank you, because one of our plan as Global Aid Connection is in Nafir, because Nafir is our nickname in Italy for Global Aid Connection. We call it Nafir, and Nafir is a solidarity among people. So we are planning to create this platform, and we had to have a kind of conversation with all diaspora and not diaspora, also with Sudanese based in Sudan now, on stronger collaboration and action plans and to know who is doing what also is important, because without knowing, exchange the expertise, exchange the work that people are doing. It's a huge job everyone is doing by his own, but we should share this together and come out with strategies. We are not start from scratch, because as they said, this happened in Iraq, in Gaza, in other countries, so we can study and use this kind of mechanism that already they put in the ground and experienced. About the humanitarian efforts and the ecological cultural efforts, we are that in the diaspora, every one of us has his family to support, has his community to support, and our Sudanese community here also, together with Global Aid Connection, we send containers with humanitarian supplies, medicine, and so forth. And now we get a resolution from the Municipality of Torino Council to help us and to open the cooperation for humanitarian aid for Sudan. So the Municipality of Torino, they take this as a resolution in their council. And so we will continue to do that also. But this is not to say, okay, we stop here and we start here. No, we both sides we can do, and now with the Sudanese community, we are going to meet the Council of Torino to know how to go further in this collaboration, so cooperation. So yeah, let's also this. Let's this gathering not only for reflection, but for a stronger collaboration.
No, just to add a very small point. Also now, in many regional governments, they offer us buildings. Like in Halfa, they offer us a building. Also in Abri. So this could be also cultural space, and with archaeological mission, we can use it just with panel, with photograph. We don't need to be a big or expensive or complicated. So now we have in different region, we have this small building which is offered by the governments, and we can use it also as cultural space.
Just to reiterate what you have been saying actually, and concrete actions that everybody can do, I believe, and mainly museums. You are connected to this CPEC, which is also organizing, and we thank them for this. this event. I think I have a call for you. Recently, UNESCO, our office, signed a partnership agreement with an Italian NGO, Music for Peace. What does Music for Peace is doing is that they're organizing annual, biannual festivals, and they collect humanitarian needs, mainly food, and they ship it to countries in war, including in Sudan. So I said, look, lots of musicians lost their livelihood because they no longer have their instruments of music. Can you please, if I can pay for the shipment, you can collect as you collect also food? And say, yes, let's do that. So next container, which is on its way, will contain, and they collect it kindly from they work mainly in Genoa, from the community actually there. There's lots of musicians who are very keen from Italy to donate or to provide very cheap, low-cost new instruments. So this instrument can help us to support a number of artist union because they don't have any instruments. Actually, they moved from Khartoum, they left everything behind and many other states. The same we can do it for the museum equipment. We can support you with the shipment cost, no problem. If you can manage through your mechanism in Italy to collect the showcases, because there are lots of museums, local museums, in different states that they need this, and mainly the museums and the Jazeera, Sinar we were mentioning, and also Khartoum. So we will be very happy also to support you with this, but these are really the concrete action that you can probably start here as well, and continue, sorry, thank you.
Thank you for these very concrete ideas from all of you, and I think we will definitely pick up on them. Are there any other last comments, reflections? Someone who wants to say something? If not, then this is the moment for particularly thanking all the panelists here, Federico, Zaina, Francesca, Iannarilli, Junaid, Sorosh-Wali, Shadia, Abdu, Rado, Yagoub, Kibeida. Give them a big round of applause, at least the first one here. But the other biggest round of applause is dedicated to yourselves for being here now, for attending and for spreading the word, raising awareness, and also contributing in any future concrete actions together with us or them or
but most of all, we should thank Johannes for the huge work that did to organize this event. Thank you, Johannes.
Our job with Johannes is not finished yet. We are going to prepare a report about this and the concrete actions we want to take in the next 6 months. Thank you very much.